Hey, welcome to Horns Up. I'm Animesh.
And I'm Peter.
And yes, we're returning to a favorite format of ours, the All A album, which also means it's the return of the one and only Anurag Tagat. How's it going, man?
Hey guys, yeah, good to be back on Horns Up. Good to be back talking about albums with you guys. It's always fun.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. I can't believe it's taken us like what, 3 months to get you on. What have you been
More
up
than
to?
3 months, man.
Yeah,
No?
yeah.
Yeah, more than 3 months, I suppose.
More
But
than three
yeah,
months. Where
but
the
yeah,
time flies, even in this
yeah,
fucking pandemic.
True.
yeah, man. It's just been the usual stuff, pretty much. But yeah, tons of music to listen to, and yeah, that's why I always dig doing this kind of stuff because it allows us to get back to an album that, that I guess it's always nice to get back to albums once in a while. I mean, we'll see how good it was to get back to this album.
True, true.
Yeah.
I can
Anyways,
already sense it, but go on.
okay, so let's dig deeper into all eight. This is the format where the three of us try our best to objectively dissect each song of an album and grade it as well. And if each song manages to score an A, well, now you know why this one's called an all A album. We'll also talk about the album's context, legacy, artwork, production, and any other factoid or whatever else we want to. So far, we've been through quite a bunch, but we've only managed to find two All A's albums so far. That's Rage Against the Machine's self-titled debut and Judas Priest's Painkiller. So, Peter, which album are we putting under the scanner today? And since you nominated this one, why the fuck did you choose it?
Well, to be honest, this is a band that is, in a way, I would say, controversial in today's day and age. I mean, the frontman is known for letting his mouth loose on everything under the sun at this point. But having said all of that, like one thing about Machine Head is that I must say upfront, this is the only album of theirs that I can still listen to.
Which
And
album is it?
The Blackening.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So, like, it just completed 14 years. It
Mm-hmm.
was released on the 26th of March 2007. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I still remember listening to it because that's the time I lived in Dubai and Machine Head had already played Dubai Desert Rock. So there was that whole hype about them and they put on a great live act. Unfortunately, I missed it. So, in the local metalheads, there was like, oh, Machine Head's new album's coming and stuff. But hey, we lived in the UAE, so you're not getting the music that easily. So I'm just gonna come out there. Yeah, I did pirate the album, man. I think as a 21-year-old with still in college and limited resources, that's what all of us did. What about you, Anurag? Do you remember still listening to the album?
Yeah, man, exactly. I do. It definitely, for me, in fact, it was the first full length album of Machine Head I'd heard because at that point, like I'd heard a few Indian bands like covering Machine Head at some point. I think 13th Hour did like Blood, Sweat and Tears and like they did like a few other things. I'd heard a few things, but and generally, I think I hadn't. There was a lot of hype around this album. Like when it came out, as soon as it came out, I could just hear so many people talking about it. So many forums, like going on about it. Um, I think it felt like for me, at least personally, like I hadn't heard a thrash metal album that had songs of this length. Yeah, that wasn't like. I mean, I think period. Like I hadn't heard songs of this length in an album that wasn't Dream Theater or Porcupine Tree. So I was definitely checking it out because everybody was hyping it at the time.
Yeah, man, there was a lot of buzz around the album, like 10-minute songs and what the hell is going on, what's happening with Machine Head. And I think that's what's the pre-buzz around the album also.
Yeah, man. And obviously back then the internet was a different beast in terms of like how this sort of stuff worked. I think before it used to be a little bit more. I don't know if organic is the right word, but I guess more effective. It wasn't so diluted. It wasn't so lost in the din that the same week that say the Blackening came out, it's not like. 50 other like insane metal albums came out, right? So yeah, like I think Machine Head had the work cut out for them back then.
I'm not going to fucking introduce or talk about what I like the context about hearing it. But yeah, this was my first Machine Head album overall as such. and I'm leave it at that.
But hang
So,
on, neither of you were into like Burn My Eyes and all of that stuff, the new metal phase.
I mean,
no,
that's what I said. Like I heard like the blood, sweat, and tears, but not that much, man. Not especially.
dude, like don't get me started on like it'll come out during when we dissect these songs, okay? Like my entire opinion about that band will come out through when we actually do this. But anyway, since we are doing this, quick factoids before we begin. As Peter said, The Blackening is Machine Head's sixth studio album. Can't believe it. It's number 6. Wow. Released in 26th or 27th March 2007 in the United States. It's the band's highest charting release on the Billboard 200 and perhaps around the world as well. It's a really long listen, clocking in at 61 minutes and 4 seconds from just 8 songs. And these 8 songs were recorded over a period of 4 months at Sharkbite Studios in Oakland, California. At the time, Machine Head were Rob Flynn, Phil Demmel, the late Adam Duce, and Dave McClain. Some say that The Blackening is Machine Head's masterpiece. All we're asking is, will The Blackening emerge as Hornsup's third all A album? Gentlemen, let's do this. Let's begin.
Let's go for it. Come on.
Cool. So, starting off with track number 1, which is Clenching the Fists of Dissent, clocking in at around 10 minutes, 36 seconds. Who wants to go first?
I like Anurag to go. Come on, Anurag.
Yeah, man. I was just remembering how I think, like for me, like this album was more about some other track, which we will get to later. But I think like to the point that I used to think that was the opening track. So then when I started listening to this, re-listening to this album, I was just like, I don't remember this album starting like this, and it was yeah, it was a little yeah, it was a little odd, but no, definitely like clinching the fist of dissent was, it feels like an almost kitchen sink approach right from the get-go, like it was just it has everything as it should, since it's a 10-minute song. And yeah, like more than that, like I think, like it feels like a good sort of a disruptive move to have a 10-minute song as your opener, because I guess sometimes openers are meant to be just like a punchy, like way into the rest of the record. But yeah, these guys went pretty hard, like straight on, and it was yeah, it was, I just love that really bouncy, groovy kind of breakdown that they have towards the end. Like that was definitely one of my favorite moments on this song.
So, what's your grade, man? What's your grade?
It's A. It's still A.
Cool. Peter?
I think you should go before this. Because come on, Animesh.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. I'm rating this song a solid A. It is a solid A. Okay. But if you start analyzing the song and start breaking it down as such, you know what I'm going to compare this to?
Go for it.
I'm going to fucking compare this to a freaking thali. Okay. It's not an wait. It gets better. It's nuanced. Okay. It's not an unlimited thali that you'll get at a Gujarati or a Rajasthani thali place. Okay, mind you. But it's one that takes the best and most famous dishes off the menu and serves it up in small bite-sized portions so that you get to taste every dish and don't get fed up of any one dish. Okay, and it's all arranged beautifully on a plate, right? You have clean introduction that peaks guitar virtuosity. You have clean, strong riffage all throughout. You have dual interwoven guitar solos. You have a catchy chorus. You have decent vocals. There's a memorable breakdown, and fuck, there's even a call to action sing along.
Fight,
Now,
fight. Come on.
right, this is not a knock, mind you, because for a thali to be deemed a good meal, you still need to know how to perfectly cook each and every dish. And that's just what Machine Head have done here. Can you trace influences of the Bay Area in every section? Yes, of course you can. But head chef Rob Flynn knows what he's doing, and he's got his merry bunch of cooks along who know what they're doing. and I don't know who's screaming at whom to make sure that the plating and everything has been absolutely right. But he's used his team of cooks to serve up a mean dish. Sorry, I mean song.
Nice.
but
Yeah,
but
you
but
made you made Rob Flynn sound like Gordon Ramsay.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who will be the idiot sandwich though.
But yeah, I mean, you've put it really well, and the entire album, I feel this sets the great in for this song, right? I mean, it sets a great tempo for the rest of the album. And when you look at it, yes, it's a 10-minute song, but this is back then when you were still, listening to stuff on CDs, so you didn't mind. And I just love the way it kind of progresses, right? I mean, it takes all the best parts of thrash, because this is 2007. I mean, it's not like, thrash was, I mean, wait, 2007. So yes, this was like the era of retro thrash, and you had all those bands coming back, right? But yeah, you can really see, the influence of, Phil DeMel coming back into the band. Of course, he was in Violence with Rob Flynn, so you have all that guitar work in there. And of course, that whole part which I kind of already talked about earlier, the fight in the 6 minute. Like, I'd love to like watch this song live. It's a great way to probably start a set also. And as always, when I'm doing all A's, I go through the lyrics, and you can clearly tell this is about the war. I mean, where he sings, "So how do they sleep when our mothers weep? They're selling our souls and our blood for oil." So there's that whole kind of theme running through most of the songs. But just to conclude, it's an A+ for me. So
Cool. Okay then. So we're off to a good start. 3 cheers for Machine Head. Fuck, I never knew that I would actually say that. Okay, moving on to the next song, track number 2. This is Beautiful Morning. Peter,
it,
what do
it
you think?
so for me, it's an A, and it's just
Hmm.
primarily for that chorus, because it's such a contrast to the verse. I mean, like you said, right? I mean, it's not like Rob Flynn's like the greatest vocalist in there, but like when he's writing those kind of hooks, or he's writing the choruses, that's the kind of contrast that he does and plays really well with it. And this goes on for the rest of the album in there. But yeah, I mean, all throughout, I think at every song I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I love this guitar work. Or there's always like certain sections that I really enjoy. But yeah, it's an A for me. Who's going next?
Anurag.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think like this one also seems to have pretty much all the makings of a thrash metal, specifically Machine Head thrash metal classic. Like has that fist pumping chorus going and just a lot of that whole chaotic trash soloing and stuff. And yeah, I think the good part is that they realized that they can wrap this up in half the time as the previous track. So I think they did good on that. And it also, I think, helped them make it like the more popular track on this album itself. So yeah, it's an A for me.
Holy shit. Okay, you guys are gonna hate me for this. I'd
Go
forgotten
for
this song.
it.
So, okay, but wait. So, but after the re-listen, I can understand why the song would appeal to teens and youth boys getting into serious metal. And now that I've grown up and become uncle, I can sit on my black porch and tell these kids to just fucking get off my lawn. I hate the first half of the song because it's just way too predictable. It's way too hardcore-ish, and the clean vocals are whiny as fucking fuck. Oh, now the second half of the song, that's the thrash energy seeping back in, and that's where the song really excels. So this was not an A from me. I'm in fact giving this a C.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't like it.
yeah, that's okay, man.
So I don't see, here's the thing, right? I don't even remember how whether I'd like this particular track when I first heard the album in 2007. Um, I genuinely I didn't remember this song existed. So yeah, whatever. So, okay. We're still doing pretty well, not bad. Let's move on to the lead single from this album, the song that really piqued the whole collective metal world's interest and made everyone go like, holy shit, yes, we fucking love Machine Head. This is track number 3. This is Aesthetics of Hate.
I think you should go. Come on.
No, I'd rather. I'm gonna take a step back and ask either Anurag or Peter to first set up the context for this song to exist. Why was this song written?
Yeah, Peter, take it, man.
All right. So I I mean, come on. My love for Pantera and Dimebag is well known. That's why we did Cowboys for Mel as our first all A's we discussed. So there was this writer, or is this writer? I don't even care. William Grimm, who wrote for a website called Iconoclast. Never heard of it. Don't care again. But what he wrote about, which was Aesthetics of Hate, Rest in Peace, Dimebag, Abbott, and Good Riddance, where he was talking about, he praised the murder of the guitarist Dimebag Darrell. And come on, you don't fucking do that. And of all people like Dimebag, anyone else I can still understand but him, because he was such a guitar hero, right? So just like everyone else who was pissed off, so was Rob Flynn. And he wrote the song Aesthetics of Hate as a retaliation to that article. And I think the lyric which I've picked up really kind of highlights how he feels about Dimebag Darrell. He says, "For the love of a brother, I will sing this fucking song, Aesthetics of Hate. I hope you burn in hell." I don't think anything more needs to be said, man.
Okay, so now that we've got the context out of the way, Peter, let's hear your grading of this song and your mini review as such.
For me, it's an A plus, man. I mean, this is like, I think it kind of highlights just, or it's kind of put together in a song how just pissed off. And I knew the background to it and all, but I mean, all for me, this album is one of those albums. I mean, I was 21, just getting over teenage angst and all of that. So you're like, feeling that there. So, of course, this song kind of hits you in there. And then again, highlight for the track is, the part where Rob Flynn and Phil DeMel are just like trading solos to the end of the song. You're just like, fuck, man. And they just put on like a proper class. Again, it's not stuff that will blow your mind as a guitarist or something you've never heard before, but it's just so well done and it's kind of placed. And yeah, I mean, he ends the song saying, "May the hand of God strike them down," which is like, later on he talks about religion, but here he's like invoking God and all of that. So yeah, man, I can still, like, this is one of the songs like I'd regularly kind of revisit or go through. There are a couple more of the album, but yeah, it's an A plus for me.
Alrighty, Anurag.
Yeah, and like I mean, like Peter was saying about the angst and stuff. I think I probably heard this song when I was 16, 17, something like that. So like this was my train ride song, man. Like I used to listen to it
Yeah, yeah.
in all the crowded fucking trains, and yeah, or just like yeah on the way back home or whatever. And still get chills from just the way like it progresses, and especially like what Peter said, like the way the last movement like goes, where he goes from that whisper to the whole scream of "May the hand of God strike them down." Like I actually honestly didn't know the context of this song. I just thought Rob Flynn was pissed at something or somebody, and I was just like, hey, good for you, and I relate. Thanks for the slammer of a song. So yeah, man, A plus for me.
Okay, how could this song be anything but an A? So yeah, heave your sighs of relief, boys. Don't worry, this is an A from me too. Um, it's become one of the songs that you can't hate, right? Um, yes, it was the lead single. I don't know why, but now that I am now after revisiting this, I mean, it had to be the lead single, right? Machine Head knew the subject matter itself made this worthy of being the lead single. Great fucking marketing move. It gave major street cred to the band, and it does a great job of announcing the band's new sonic landscape and what it promises to do. And I'll say it, at the time of release, this song will would have left you befuddled, because you would never expect Machine Head to be releasing this song, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. I mean, that's what I was talking, considering they were like this. I mean, I still consider them a trendy band. They went through that new metal phase, but this is something that just blew everyone's mind. Like, what the fuck has happened to them, right?
okay, I'm going to revisit that word trend later on. But here's the thing. Aesthetics of Hate, 14 years later, still remains a great song. And I love to hear it live, because it'll really get the crowd going. My only teensy-weensy little problem with it now is I wish I could shave off that last slow motion breakdown slightly. And I love the fact that there's so much of Slayer worship in it. So maybe
Yeah.
tone that down a little bit. But other than that, it's a solid A. It's 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 what metal music is meant to evoke it as an emotion. It's meant to just, be an outlet for anger, for hate, not for hate as such, but at least for anger, where you're like pissed off with the world, and you can't literally go and punch someone. So you write a fucking song about it, and you let the song do all the pummeling. So yeah, one of the best pure examples of what metal should be. And that's Aesthetics of Hate. So yeah, a round of A's, and this is shaping up to be quite a good album, which then brings me to song number 4, which is Now I Lay Thee Down, clocking in at 4 minutes 11 seconds. Let me begin this one. Again, I don't remember my very first initial reactions to this song. And now on the re-listen, though, I have to go back to my Thali wala example. Just that now I'm being served up a thali which is flavored as a mid-tempo power balladish variant of sorts. Solid song, but overall, every bit while I'm listening to it, it just sounds so familiar. Like if you take off the name Machine Head and tell me this is a new band, I don't know, called maybe Steel Razors or something, maybe I'd appreciate it a bit more. Or let me ask you guys this: what if this song was like, couldn't you imagine in a better world, maybe even a Nickelback writing this kind of a song? Think
Ah,
about it.
damn.
No,
Damn.
like just a heavy Nickelback. But so okay, wait. So I'll tell you why. I think that is the key point, because this song was also the second single from the album, right? And it's a radio-friendly track. And if you've got Aesthetics of Hate as your lead single, and you then follow it up with Now I Lay Thee Down, oh my God, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Overall, though, I'll give this song a solid B, because of just how vanilla it sounds like today. Fight me.
So I'm going first punch. I'm giving it an A, and it's just because of the guitar work. I mean, I'm going to not repeat myself. Yes, I see the points you made, but I'm going to reserve those comments for the next track. So I'm going to stop there. Anurag, you want to take a stab at this?
Yeah, man, no, I mean, for me, I'm confused. Like, I mean, especially it seems to be influenced by now, like your guys, your ratings, because, like, I mean, I love the real Morton energy of this song, but can't help but I can't overlook the riff, the main riff on this. That's like, it to me, at least back then, it's probably a product of what I was listening to a lot back then, which was Tool. So it sounds a little bit like Tool for some reason. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like it definitely felt like they really dug into this one main hook a little too much. And yeah, I think they could have done with a little more diversity on this. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna give it a B then.
So yeah, what if Nickelback had released this song?
That- well, they were on the same label, so who knows?
Ooh, did somebody switch the? Oh my God, conspiracy theories! Somebody switched the songs. Did somebody leak something else? Some shit going on there. Oh.
No, but here's the thing, man. Like I guess it's just me, because for research purposes. I visited the Machine Head subreddit or Reddit on Reddit, and fuck, they love this song. Like Now I Lay Thee Down is considered one of the best Machine Head songs ever.
Wow.
I mean, I don't
Don't
know what
post
that says about the band, but whatever.
hey, don't post this episode on there. We'll get slaughtered.
Okay, cool. Uh, so yeah, we have 4 songs down already. Moving on to song number 5, which is Slanderous. Peter?
So I'm gonna be upfront, man. This was tough, and I'm giving it a B just for the lyrics. I don't know what the hell these guys were going for, man. I mean, like reading the lyrics at this point, you're just like, uh, okay, are you like baiting someone? And see, the thing is, at the end of the day, when I listened to it back then, I was like, ah, whatever, okay, angry, heavy riffs. But now that I'm kind of reading the lyrics, going through it, I'm just like, nah, man. I mean, like, could this have been left off the album? Yeah, considering you've got like so many long songs in there. So I don't know. I I'm I just feel this is like could have not been there on the album, or I would have been
Mm.
happier. I'm gonna skip this song if I listen to it again for sure.
Okay, cool. I'm going to chip in and just say that the solo section that kicks in around the 3-minute mark is perhaps the highlight of this track. And while listening to it, when the song was fresh in my head, and given my musical evolution since like over the last 14 years, and that sounds pretentious as fuck, but damn, this song sounds so stock. It's solidly executed, but it's still stock. Like you could probably create sample banks from this particular song, or maybe that's exactly what they did. So anyways, for me it's a C, a solid C.
Yeah, man. I
Anurag.
mean, yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. Like, it's definitely a C, maybe even an, I don't know, worse. Mostly because, like, I mean, yeah, like I get the intent of what Rob Flynn wants to say on this and what he wants to do with this, go into that whole shock mode or whatever. But man, I don't condone the use of the N word. I don't condone the use of homophobic slurs at all. So,
Yeah, like
uh,
it's strange, right? Like when you're younger and you probably heard it, you're like, oh wow. And now when you hear it, you're just like, why, dude? Like, why would
Yeah,
you do that?
exactly. That is the question. Why is the question? And yeah, man. Apart from that, like I think sonically also, like Animesh said, like it definitely was very stock. Like it felt, and yeah, I would also probably skip it the second time. So unfortunately, this one's
And just
C.
one more thought, right? Like when I was reading up, they wrote 26 songs and then shortlisted down to 8. And this one made the cut.
So can you imagine how worse the other songs?
Yeah, you're just like, okay, what's happening, man?
And
Hey,
why didn't you give this song to Nickelback, bro?
yeah.
Because even Nickelback would be like, no man, we don't sound this average. Okay, okay, cool. So since we've absolutely butchered and slandered Slanderous, let's move on to talk about better songs. Because yes, the next song, song number 6, Halo, which clocks in at a lengthy 9 minutes 4 seconds. I'll say it. It's a fucking solid A. It's a great song. This song absolutely slams. It's tight, it's groovy, it's got a catchy chorus, and I dare say that the radio edit, which unfortunately I heard first on the re listen, it doesn't do it justice because you have to play the long format, unedited 9-minute version for this song to actually work. If you've, and tell you what, if you've got a non metalhead friend and for some reason you only have this album, The Blackening, to introduce that non metalhead friend to metal, I think Halo would be the best choice because it's not all aggro. It still harks back to the classics. So we have a good, you know, a good way of actually introducing the guy to even better music. And it's got enough layers and changes to keep you interested throughout. So yes, Halo is a solid A from me.
Go for it, Anurag.
Yeah, man, definitely a solid A for me as well because I think there was a time, I think like a few years ago, or I don't know when this happened, but like the main riff of this song, just that with that whole fucking pinch harmonic part, which is like so nuts. Like I think it got stuck in my head, and I was like, which song is this? And I think the reason I must have forgotten was because yeah, I suppose Machine had made a 9 minute song, and like I guess even though this riff is really like drilled into it, like I for the life of me, yeah, I seem to have forgotten. But yeah, it gives me such a rush, man, even to go back to it and to listen to it again. And the guitar leads, everything just fires off. It's a pretty good, a redeeming song after Slanderous.
Yeah, and for me also, it kind of caps off because you see a trend towards this part of the album where you see like the longer songs like are much better than the shorter ones. I mean, the pinch harmonic riff that you're talking about in the opening, right? It keeps repeating through the song and it actually gets stuck. And after listening to like the 9 minute song, I went to the 5 minute music video and I was like, why? Like, I don't know. I want to know somebody who heard the 5 minute song and then like see their reaction to the longer version. Like,
That's
oh,
exactly what happened to me,
yeah.
because I queued up this. So I don't have all my music on me at the moment because of where I am. So I was relying on YouTube to play the entire album. And YouTube, for some reason, uh in that curated album playlist, don't have the long version,
Oh,
but they
shit.
have the radio edit of Halo on their playlist. So after hearing the radio edit, I'm like, no, there's something missing, because I don't
Yeah.
remember. Because see, this is the thing, right? The song is so good, I actually remembered it. And I was like, no, man, there's something missing here. So then I searched for it and I realized that, yeah, it is a longer song. And you hear the longer song, and that's when the song actually works. So I don't know whose decision it was to make this a radio edit, because the radio edit just doesn't work at all.
True, true.
So cool. So all of us said this is an A, right? It's a solid A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All in agreement.
All right, fantastic. So moving on to the penultimate track, song number 8. This is Wolves. Comes in again at 9 minutes and 1 second. And again, I'm going to be fucking honest over here. By this song, and while this song was playing, I felt bored out of my fucking skull. I'll tell you why. It's the problem of a sea of sameness, because everything just feels familiar and not as if you're cooking with fresh ingredients, right? Maybe it's because I'm being super critical, but I don't know. I'm asking you, am I? For me, it's still solidly executed. So executed song. So I'll give it a B. But yeah, am I being too harsh? What do you think, Anurag?
No, man,
Totally.
definitely not. When I was listening to the album like a bunch of times, I think I remember skipping over Slanderous, and I remember skipping over Wolves probably the most amount of times. Like, and I must have heard them still. I must have heard them plenty of times still, even though all the times that I skipped them. But yeah, it just seems like this is not the Machine Head that started this album. Like the one that we hear at the beginning, and the one that we hear around Wolves is it's kind of yeah kind of disappointing for sure. It seemed like a continuation of just things that they had already done. And yeah, probably a B. I'm just feeling generous as always, so B.
Okay, Peter, what about you?
So I'm not as critical as both of you. I'm giving this an A. And the reason why is because there's that part where he goes, no satisfaction.
And is that
And
the only reason why you're giving
Oh
this?
my God, Peter.
no, I'm just saying. I mean, like when I think
Yeah,
back of the
I'm just
song,
pulling your leg.
that's the part that kind of sticks out for you, right? And I agree to the points that you guys made. I mean, there's so much going on. On repeated listens, you're just like, okay. And of course, I can totally agree with skipping the song because at some point, I think that like there are like some 3 or 4 songs that could have been made out of just this song. And it just comes back to my point earlier, right? I mean, I'm not sure what they were trying to do. Maybe they were trying to make like the statement of like releasing these really long songs. But yeah, I mean, that's all I have to say about this because I'm waiting for the last song now.
We will go to the last song then. It's a farewell to arms. Again, long, 10 minutes, 13 seconds. Peter, since you were waiting to talk about this song, Why don't you give this a go? Start.
So for me, it the album kind of ends the way it started, because like, that opening makes you feel that, okay, they're finally slowing things down and all of that, and then halfway through the songs, like the second time he says a farewell to arms, it all just like gets all aggro again. And yeah, like at this point I just also wonder like the whole lyrics, right? Because it seems like all over the place. You see like, okay, there are certain things there, and this part again is, about the war. And when he says the line like, who is one when we're all dead, it's just kind of like leaves you thinking, right? So I enjoyed it. I mean, like, these are one of the few songs like I'd like to revisit off the album, so I'm giving it an A.
Guess what? I'm giving this one an A as well. I actually enjoyed the song. Again, if I must complain, I'll say that it is a formula. And that's absolutely fine because somehow on this song, even though you're sticking to paint by numbers, you're still managing to do a good novel job of it. Maybe you're coloring and combining and creating new shades, which only you can see, but whatever, it works. It also sounds like it was written to be the album ender because there's no other song on this album that could actually fit that mantle. So perfectly positioned, beautiful way to end the album. It gets a solid A from me. Anurag.
Yeah, man. A for me, A plus probably. I think I haven't given any song A plus. I might as well give this one an A plus because I think like it just has the sense of anticipation that they built right from like clenching the fists of dissent as well. Like it just feels like they got it right again. In terms of just the structure, just everything that goes into it, they really stomp through this one for me. Like and at least for me, like I said, like to hear a mostly thrash metal band like make craft a 10-minute song like this. And yeah, man, like I still remember I would get lost in this song because it's such a it's not a laborious listen that way, but it's just, yeah, it's a very it really takes you places in that sense. And I think they did a great job of just like latching on to those riffs and just like going from place to place, almost like as if they were jamming, I suppose. But just like a really, probably like almost like a perfect jam where you just feel like every part like sits in one after the other and you're running with it. So yeah, for that, like it definitely gets an A plus.
Fantastic. And there you have it. In terms of pure music, I'm sorry, The Blackening, but you want an all A's album
Yeah.
by a long shot. Okay, cool. So let's quickly talk about the other aspects. Let's first talk production. I have to say this album gets an A plus completely on the with respect to the production and how it sounds. It's beautiful. It's lavish. It sounds excellent whether you're listening to it on teeny cheap ass headphones or whether you're listening to it on a prime state of the art music system. And that's a fucking feat of lovely recording, of lovely mastering, of lovely mixing. So yes, full marks to everybody who engineered this album and is responsible to for how it sounds because it sounds fucking excellent.
Yeah, man. I mean, I heard it on cheap headphones, and there were parts where I was listening to it. Now I was like, oh wow, like this sounds nice, and it's done also really well. From what I've read, it's like the band produced it in themselves, and got Colin Richardson to mix and master it. So that was pretty cool, I feel.
Yeah, and for me, like it felt like one of those things where I just, yeah, I seem to have got the impression that, especially I think this one came around the same time as Mastodon's Crack the Sky, I guess, like two
Yeah, yeah.
years, 3 years apart. So, and I still remember like Machine Head's The Blackening and Mastodon's Crack the Sky. They were both like quite considered, yeah, like albums of the decade or something like that. Like they seem to have been elevated to that position. And I think part of that is definitely because they pay attention to things like production, and because they can just make an album like that, like you said, like multiple listens years down the line, it still sounds freaking fantastic. And I think that's definitely one of the things that'll always sort of like salvage an album, even if everything else is wrong with it.
Yeah, which actually kind of makes me wonder, why would you like try to mess around with it? I mean, okay, I get like, uh, you know 14 years later you want to kind of do the cash grab and add extra demos, or like isolated tracks and all of that stuff. But like, do you want to mess or fuck with something which is already so good? I don't know, man. I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, yeah, I guess bands are these days predisposed. I know. I think before it used to be labels who were predisposed, but now it sounds like bands are seemingly predisposed to just go around and yeah, mess with stuff, mess with the quote unquote classics, I guess. um,
Yeah. What
but
about
yeah,
what about the artwork? I mean, I'm going to take a stab at it first. I really like the artwork, and it also has that thing, right? Because this is the time I was kind of getting into more extreme metal. So when you see a cover like this, and especially a band like Machine Head, right? You're just like, okay, this is cool, this is different. So I'm giving the artwork an A.
yeah, oh, definitely, man. Definitely A on the artwork as well for me. And if I didn't mention before, A on the production as well. Because yeah, like it just to me, like I said, right, like because it was the first Machine Head album that I was listening to. Like it definitely, I guess hit a right hit the right spot in terms of even the presentation of it. Like it just felt like, obviously a black and like, almost like just two colors or something, I suppose. And yeah, just like the grimness of it all was quite cool that way. So I definitely enjoyed the artwork. At that time, obviously it was all digital. I never bought a physical copy of anything,
Yeah,
but
man. But
but
but you know what? This is the artwork I'd like to have on a t-shirt. Like, it's cool
definitely,
that way, right? I mean, it looks metal.
definitely.
Anvesh, what do you take of the artwork?
Yeah, it's good. Uh, hmm. Uh, it's metal. It fits the album name. It fits what I would expect from a band like Machine Head. I've never seen, like, apart from the Locust Wala album, I've never seen any other Machine Head album up front. So I really don't know what their artwork used to look like. So yeah, it's a solid piece of art.
All right.
I don't know,
So
man. You want me to grade it? I'll grade it an A. Why
okay.
not? It's not bad. It's good.
All right. But I mean, closing points. I mean, for me, honestly, and the only reason I kind of suggested this album is that this is peak Machine Head. I mean, honestly, in the last 15 years or so, this is the only album I can like re-listen to, because every album after this, I'll always check out like one listen, two listens, and then I'll try wonder that, okay, can they top the Blackening? And I've always ended up disappointed. So yeah, that I thought it would be great to like pick your brains and see what you all thought of this album.
You're absolutely right, because this is the album that got everyone talking about Machine Head again. And I think largely it comes from a place that says that no one expected this album to come from Machine Head in the first place. Right? I don't think anybody ever expected that.
Yeah.
Uh, Weirdly enough, somebody's rated this as the album of the decade.
We were just
What?
talking about this. Yeah,
Dude, but
like
like 2000s, 10s had, I mean, that era had so many albums out.
I just was telling Peter about how like this was technically, for me, like I heard this, and then much a few years later, Crack the Sky came out, which was also considered the metal album of the decade and stuff like that.
Hmm. I but here's the weird thing, right? I can kind of understand why you would even bring this album into that kind of a conversation for album of the decade, because I really think that this is an album that's a perfect example of a piece of music that's best remembered for capturing the essence of the times it was recorded and released in. Okay, here was an era or a decade where your legendary bands like the Big Four, they weren't doing anything novel.
True.
In fact, everybody, like each one of them kind of shat the bed with their individual releases. You
Big,
had
big.
the new eye candy coming up. So Lamb of God and Gojira and, the next big bands as such, they were coming up and they were showing signs of brilliance, but they hadn't really mastered their sound. And there was kind of like a lull in the metal sphere as such, especially when it came to thrash and when it came to American metal, right? Like good meat and potatoes metal. And this was an opportunity waiting to be taken, and full marks to Flynn and gang for spotting that opportunity and working their asses off to capitalize on it. And if you remember earlier in our chat, I had said that I'll talk about trends again. And this is the exact time to bring it up because I don't know how Machine Head managed to do this, but they managed to buck trends and they managed to do a great job of spotting the right trend and creating something that's gets them to maintain relevance. So trend core is definitely a word that I would use to use to describe Machine Head. And on this instance, I think they've done a pretty good job of spotting a trend even before it began, even before it became a trend. Because yes, after the Blackening, suddenly American metal just seemed to find its balls again.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the time, like I said earlier, right? You had all those retro thrash bands come in. I mean, I remember watching bands like Bonded by Blood and all of them, Vector. You had all, before the end of 2009-10, you had all those bands kind of spawn off. I mean, guys who weren't even born when Metallica and Megadeth started out, they were kind of playing the retro trash.
Okay, so here's my next question then. Is this album Machine Head's best album?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, especially because as a like for me, it made me a new fan of Machine Head, to the point that, obviously when an album, you hear an album like this and you know what a band is capable of, like it made me very hyped when Unto the Locust came out like 4 years later. And of course that's a whole different story, but yeah, like it was definitely you can't buy that, like you have to make a solid album if you want a fan to stay and get like just hyped, like just on hearing the fact that a new album is coming out. And I think, yeah, like I guess hats off to them for doing that.
Yeah, Anurag, you've hit the nail on the head, man. Like what you went through with Unto the Locust, that I went through the same thing. It made me actually go out and buy the fucking Locust Wala album, and I hated it because was just like it seemed like such a try too hard attempt at recapturing the essence of the Blackening, and then you realize that lightning doesn't really strike twice.
Yeah. But I think I said this before we started. uh, while I was looking up YouTube for the tracks and all of that, I discovered that the band actually played the entire album. So Machine Head's been doing this electric happy hour every week. So 14 years of the album, they played the entire thing back to back, along with the cover that was on the special deluxe edition, which was Battery. So for some of you who are interested, just check that also. I'm surprised like Rob Flynn can still play all this stuff, huh?
Why wouldn't he be able to?
It's so long.
Hey, okay. Here's another final brilliant opinion that I have to share with you guys. While reading up more about this album, right, I came over this lovely Invisible Oranges piece, which kind of recounts this entire album's story. And as beautifully said by Joseph Schaefer, The Blackening is the world's best Metallica cover band album.
Oh, snap.
I completely agree.
Oh,
I completely
yeah,
agree.
so good. It's true.
Right? Isn't that the case?
I
Isn't
mean,
that the case? Can you imagine if Metallica got access to whatever Rob Flynn and company was smoking and released and just put their own spin on all of these raw materials or these raw ideas as such and release this instead of that Death Magnetic album?
oh, I thought you were going to say Lulu.
Oh no, Lulu was. Let's not even talk about that. But yeah, it
Yeah,
makes
man.
perfect sense, right?
I mean, it's like basically Rob Flynn basically took, all the best parts of Metallica out of them, and then they just forgot. Like I want to see like a reaction video, since we're in the age of reaction videos, right? I want to see like what was Metallica's reaction first time they heard these
Have
songs.
you guys no? So I think there's a story, right? Like James Hetfield apparently heard Aesthetics of Hate on the radio, and uh, like his, I don't know, whatever, he really enjoyed it, and that's the reason why Machine Head got invited to play with Metallica,
Ooh.
and which is also why James Hetfield joined the band on stage to play Aesthetics of Hate for a few
Oh,
times.
well,
So
yeah, you know what they
it
say
actually
about
worked.
yeah, well, you know what they say about imitation and flattery and all those things. So
Yeah, or like maybe Rob Flynn. Like, have you guys seen Space Jam?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So maybe Rob Flynn was like that guy who had the basketball and went to Metallica and got all of them to fucking give them his powers, and which is why Metallica ended up releasing Death Magnetic.
That visual is not going to leave my head for a while.
Now there's your conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah.
All right,
Okay,
man.
so on that note, ladies and gentlemen, it's another lovely edition of All A album. Unfortunately or fortunately, this time we didn't end up getting an All A album, but it's still a great album to check out nonetheless. Machine Head's The Blackening, 14 years in, still remains a solid listen. Do check it out. Let us know what you thought of the album and tell us. Hey, that we don't know what we're talking about, fight us. We'd love to hear from you. As always, you can chime in and drop us a line at hornsubpod.com or on Twitter at hornsubpod. I'm also on Twitter. I'm at Asmawani.
I'm at Trend Crusher.
And Anurag, you're at?
I'm at Anurag Tagat. That's it. Yeah.
And
You're not
now
on
he's
Instagram anymore?
no, he is. So go on. He's no longer a hashtag.
Oh, right. Yeah. On Instagram, I'm no longer a hashtag. I'm a handle on Instagram.
Alrighty then. Horns up, guys.
Horns up.
Take care, guys. Hands up.